Hey guys, RadTech Reviews here. My name's Kyle. We're going to be talking about Batman vs. Superman today, the next installment of the DCEU, directed by Zack Snyder. So go ahead and like and subscribe. You can follow my Twitter and my Letterboxd, both are in the description down below. But let's just get into it. Spoilers, obviously. There's no reason not to talk spoilers on this. It's been out long time now. It's like 8 years, 7 years, something like that. It's interesting with this one as far as theatrical cut versus the director's cut. And that's the most interesting thing in general when it comes to Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers is his cuts of things. The extended versions are so superior to what gets put in theaters as far as like what Warner Brothers tries to control and tell them what to do. There's 30 minutes extra footage on this between the two as far as theatrical versus director's cut, and I was shocked the first time I watched the extended version of just how much that 30 minutes adds to this movie. It's like it elevates it exponentially, and it's insane just how much better I found the extended cut to be. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the theatrical version. I'd probably give that like a 3 out of 5 stars, but the extended cut jumped way up for me, and I ended up, I think on Letterboxd, I put it at about 4.5 out of 5. Like, it was near perfect. The only flaws I really had from it, there's 2 minor characters from the comic books. I'd probably get in trouble for referring to Jimmy Olsen as minor. I know he's a bigger part than that, but in terms of the film, he was a minor character. And then Mercy Graves, both of them have a presence in the comic books and have fans. Both of them are barely used, and both of them die in this movie. They have nothing, really no real screen time for the most part. And that was disappointing. Other than that, I really don't have any issues with this movie, especially the director's cut. I just think it's fantastic. Visually, it's fantastic. I really enjoy Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Obviously, Henry Cavill and Amy Adams both returned from Man of Steel. They're both great. So you kind of get this built up, one versus the other story, spearheaded by Lex Luthor. That's probably the biggest controversial thing from this movie is Jesse Eisenberg's take on Lex Luthor. I personally really like it. I know it's a little hammy, a little like he doesn't seem like the calculated genius that we know Lex as. I would still say Michael Rosenbaum is definitely my favorite. But I liked his kind of unhinged, Joker-ish. Maybe that's the issue people have. It's a little Joker-y, you know, a tiny bit. I love that he's got like this theme music whenever he's talking and stuff, where it comes in with the, I don't know if it's a violin or what exactly, but he has a very specific music that plays when shit's happening with him in the movie, and I really like it. But plot-wise, you know, we open up, we get this great little sequence that goes back to Man of Steel, where we kind of see ground level Bruce Wayne arriving to Metropolis while Clark is fighting Zod, and he kind of sees firsthand the destruction that these aliens are causing, and that puts a vendetta for him against Superman from the start. So that makes sense as far as why he would be anti-Superman from at first. So, fast forward, you kind of see where he's at in Gotham. You get a little reference to Jason Todd with the Robin suit, and you know, so clearly Batman's he's been around a while. He's been through some shit. He's brutalizing criminals and marking them for death, which is kind of goes against what we normally know Batman's creed to be. So he's just in a dark place, and I kind of like that. I like that we get this aged, experienced, and kind of jaded Bruce, you know. You get flashback sequence, kind of a dream sequence really, but it does give you that normal backstory of Bruce Wayne with Martha and Thomas Wayne being shot in the alley, the pearls breaking, all that normal stuff that we've seen 1,000 times. I'm glad we didn't have a full sequence of it. It was just a dream sequence. I like that. Just a reminder, I guess, which random cameo from Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohen as Bruce's parents. And we kind of see Lois. There's terrorist stuff going on. Lois is investigating that, which is where Jimmy Olsen randomly dies. He has maybe 2 or 3 lines of dialogue, and then he's just taken out. Throughout the plot, you find out that this has really been Lex's plan the whole time, just to turn people against Superman. Gets access to the alien ship, to Zod's body, starts to learn about the Kryptonian stuff, and he has this side plot where he uses this handicapped man who was injured, lost his legs because of the fight in Metropolis, and kind of uses that situation along with the subplot of the African woman, which is completely cut out in the African woman subplot is the biggest addition that adds to the story of the film, and it was completely cut on the theatrical cut. She's not in it at all. But yeah, I really like Holly Hunter's kind of a politician who's anti-Superman. You get this whole setup of this court scene where Clark comes to kind of face judgment of some kind, and Lex uses the wheelchair. I assume it's a lead-lined wheelchair, which is why he wasn't able to see the bomb. But explodes, destroys the entire courthouse, and that's where Mercy Graves was. So she also, like Jimmy Olsen, maybe a couple lines of dialogue, but for the most part, didn't do much, and then boom, she's gone. Great sequence between Bruce and Clark meet each other for the first time at Lex's party. Get a lot of good stuff there, kind of as reporter Clark talking to him. And there's this big piece of kryptonite that was found in the bottom of the ocean, which can be used obviously against Kryptonians, and Bruce wants to steal it so that Lex can't use it, but at the same time he doesn't want to destroy it. He wants to make his own weapons because he, as himself, wants to take out the Kryptonians and remove them from the equation on Earth. So you get a badass Batmobile sequence where he's chasing these guys down, trying to get the kryptonite, and that's when we finally get Superman meeting Batman the first time. They met each other as their alter egos. Now they're meeting each other in person. Obviously, Clark knows who he is because he has X-ray vision, but he kind of just intimidates him. He tries to intimidate him. Tells him to shut the bat down, or he will shut it down for him. And then you get that whole line of "Do you bleed? But you will," and that kind of stuff. It's a little cheesy, not terrible, but it's a little cringy. Zack Snyder's forte is not one-liners, for sure. So then we got a great, workout montage of Ben Affleck being all buff and shit. Have him getting ready. He's got the armored bat suit, which is pretty badass. He takes the kryptonite after he steals it and uses it to create a spear, which he's going to use against Clark, and finally get the fight. Lex uses Martha Kent, kidnaps her and uses that to kind of turn Superman where he has no choice but to fight Batman, and the fight sequence between the two of them is fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted to see. You got Bruce being smart, using the kryptonite in ways to kind of hinder Clark so that it's more evenly matched, and clearly when it comes to hand-to-hand, Bruce is far more experienced in different combat styles and how to fight hand-to-hand. Clark doesn't have his strength. He's not that conducive as far as being able to just fight somebody mano a mano, you know. He needs his powers, he needs his abilities, you know. And it kind of goes back and forth as this stuff wears off. I mean, then he shoots him again with more of those canisters that just kind of kryptonite gas. And that all culminates to the moment that most people complain about, which is the Martha, save Martha, why did you say that name scene. And I don't mind it. Again, like I said about one-liners with Zack Snyder, it is very cringy and very cheesy, the execution of that. But what he's going for, I completely understand, and why he wrote it that way. Because obviously, to Bruce, Superman is just an alien. And by them, it is weird that DC, these like two of the first superheroes they made, and both of their moms had the same name. That is kind of odd. But it's just a humanizing one. That's the whole point. Is Bruce has looked at him as an enemy, as a weapon, as an alien, not as a person. And by learning he has a mom, his mom's name is the same as mine, he's not just a monster. You know, he is, in a lot of ways, flesh and blood, just like me. And that's what Zack Snyder was going for. The execution of it was pretty kind of eye-rolly a little bit. Upon rewatches, I don't mind it less and less every time. It doesn't bother me, but I can see why a lot of people would like majorly roll their eyes at that and just be kind of like, oh, that sounds so stupid. But I get it. And then you get kind of this tacked on ending. I mean, it could have kind of slowed down and ended right there, but it just ended with Martha Kent being rescued and everything. But so then we add in Doomsday, which obviously one of the more famous comic book storylines is the Doomsday storyline, because he does kill Superman. That is a big important part. That is what happens here. Fight and everything is pretty cool. As far as the look of Doomsday, I don't mind it. It does look a little Lord of the Rings troll-esque, but I don't mind it. He is kind of more of a monster, but I think he does have some intelligence in the comics, right? So, whereas here he's kind of just a mindless beast in a lot of ways. Oh, I didn't even talk about Wonder Woman. I haven't even mentioned Gal Gadot's debut as Wonder Woman in this movie. Obviously, she looks fantastic in that red dress, especially. A lot of people were questionable on her being that person. She really came into her own with it. I think she did a fantastic job, and she looks fantastic in the outfit, and she's badass with her fight. I like the fact that she had the shield, she had the sword, and she even used the lasso for more than just getting people to tell the truth. And that kind of stuff's pretty cool. Definitely see a little bit of chemistry there between her and Bruce. I've always liked that combo of romantic interest. That's a big part of like the animated series. But yeah, I think she's great. And ultimately, they do end up winning the fight against Doomsday, taking him out, getting Lex Luthor, and then you get the awesome sequence. Well, before Doomsday, I guess, but you get the awesome sequence of Batman going, just destroying these guys in the warehouse. And clearly that's got to be an homage to the Arkham games, because that's exactly what it looks like. It's brutal. He fights all of them at once, kind of going back and forth, kicking their ass. You get some great kind of surprising, brutal moments, like when he takes that one guy out with the crate, bloodies his head all the way against the wall, just busts it and everything, and you got him busting through walls and taking people out. It's just awesome. Very good stuff. You can definitely feel the feeling like from Watchmen. It's the same kind of brutality you kind of get in Watchmen, which was also directed by Zack Snyder. So yeah, I mean, Superman dies. There's a little cliffhanger things indicating, oh, he might not be gone forever. But which we all could have guessed that, of course. And then you have the little sequence of video clips, just kind of introducing people to kind of who's coming in the DCU in the future. You got a little reference to Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg. Those are okay. The Aquaman one is by far the weirdest, kind of silliest one. Then you even have reference to Steppenwolf. You get a little glimpse of him, which I'm pretty sure that was not in the theatrical version either. But yeah, I think I think I've covered pretty much everything. Unfortunately, to this point here in 2023, we have not gotten a Cyborg solo film, which sucks because I think Ray Fisher is fantastic and he's probably the best part of Zack Snyder's Justice League for sure. There's a lot there emotionally and a lot of potential badass kind of cyborg stuff that could happen in that film if it was ever made. Yeah, overall, like I said, 4.5 stars out of 5 is what I gave it. I think it's fantastic. It gets way too much hate. I think Zack Snyder's vision of what he wanted with the DC universe is really cool, and it's unfortunate that he got fired after a while. And we might never truly see how that was going to finish and culminate ultimately. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and have a good day, guys. Thanks.